Hello and welcome to the TMZ podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton and today I'm joined by Derek Kaufman.
No Lothario lawyer when we're leading with a death story.
No, we have to.
We'll do that when we do romantic stories.
Yes, true. Yeah. No, we have somber tone now. We're going to give you some Gene Hackman details. This is mysterious and suspicious.
As mysterious as the death of a 95-year-old man could be. This is the number one most mysterious old man death I've ever seen.
Good call. We'll also talk about your favorite influencers, the Tate brothers.
Oh, boy.
They're stateside now, having been freed, I guess, from Romania and allowed to come back over here. England wants them back. I don't know where these guys are going to end up. DeSantis doesn't want them in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen.
They're men without a home.
Yep.
No one wants them.
Finally, we'll talk about this crazy internet scandal that's going on right now, because there's a pretty girl named Mary Kate Cornett, and the internet is going off saying that she slept with her boyfriend's father. Yeah. She adamantly denies she did not. This is cyber stalking, but her life has been turned upside down because the internet being the internet.
It was a seek and destroy mission. They just destroyed this girl's life. It's pretty wild.
And now Pat McAfee and Antonio Brown are commenting on this scandal. But please leave your comments as we do this episode. We're live and we'll get to your comments at the end. To begin with, Gene Hackman. More details are emerging about his very mysterious death. You're the host of the Last Days podcast, where you go into, obviously, the last days of someone's life. You know this story back to front, as much of it as there is to know.
Yeah, we covered it yesterday, but even in that episode, it's a developing story. You know, we wanted to talk about everything related to it, but it's happening in real time. We're covering this, and now we've learned that Gene Hackman was perfectly healthy. For a 95-year-old man, He had been retired since 2004, walked away from acting. He was a huge leading man in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, walked away, and had been leading a pretty quiet life with his wife and his dogs in New Mexico. You know, you'd see shots once in a blue moon of him walking out of a restaurant. He was definitely thinner than he was in his acting days. But now we're hearing that Leslie Ann Hackman said, you know, there was no indication that there were any problems. I believe that's his daughter.
They weren't sort of depressed or they weren't sort of angling to get out of here.
And he didn't have any sort of health issues. You know, a lot of times you just start falling apart. The body just gives way or the mind gives way. You have surgeries and then you sort of decline. She says that wasn't the case. He was still very active, very good physical condition for a 95-year-old guy. He was active, went to Pilates, yoga several times a week. And then both of them, his wife, who was considerably younger in her early 60s, and Gene were found dead in their home with their dog. And now there's this whole investigation. Initially, when you see two dead people in an enclosed home, there's always a thought of a gas leak, right? Unless it looks like pills everywhere. You're thinking, what could kill two people and a dog, maybe some gas? Gas company came in, looked at the pipes, no immediate signs of that. So, you know, it's also a large house. Usually a gas leak in a more contained space can sort of kill you. But
And they were found in separate rooms.
Separate rooms. And it looked like he was maybe on the go because his glasses were next to his body and he was fully clothed in the mud room, which is usually adjacent to an exit to the home.
Yeah.
And so she was found in the bathroom. Pills were overturned next to her body, and a heater had been pulled to the ground.
But that could be all sort of circumstance. That could be just it just fell, or the pills were we don't know if they have anything to do with the death.
The most mysterious part, honestly, is the dog in the closet. And you're a pet owner. I'm not a pet owner at the moment, but is it true that if dogs are in distress and feel like something's going wrong, they scamper to a closet?
I think they like to hide themselves away. They get it's almost like they're embarrassed. You know, the dogs are embarrassed to poo. You know what I mean?
There's the shame.
There's some sort of shame. So I agree that say Gene died suddenly and his wife couldn't bear living without him for the rest of her life, so she said, I'm going to join you, Gene. Then why is the dog dead too?
Right. Well, some people are speculating, and again, this is all speculation, that the overturned pill bottle exposed some pills, and the dog may have eaten them after she collapsed and she couldn't stop the dog from eating the pills, and that could have caused a bad reaction to the dog and killed the dog.
So they might have all died in separate ways?
They could have. I mean, well, look, in this case, the toxicology report's going to be everything. You're going to have to see.
It takes ages, though, doesn't it, to come back?
Yeah, it takes 4 to 8 weeks. So people are going to have to be patient. This is a megawatt superstar actor. So everyone wants to know today, and it happened on Wednesday. You're not going to know immediately because we're going to have to see what killed him. And if Gene Hackman was, as you said, discovered from a heart attack, a stroke, you're 95, you're in good health, but it's one of those any moment.
Right.
Something could happen. And she discovered him. They'd been together for so long that maybe there's a codependency and you get very worried. People are saying when you live with a 95-year-old man, you can't be all that surprised when he drops dead. But I don't think that's true, right? If he's healthy and going to yoga, you're not thinking about death every day. I think people like to think once someone's in their 90s, they just are looking at the clock every moment. I don't think that's the case with Gene Hackman.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what other details come out in coming weeks and months as we get to the truth on this thing.
It's incredibly sad. Because he deserved a sort of more peaceful, like lots of celebrations. And now I feel like every retrospective about Gene Hackman is going to cover the mystery of his death rather than this illustrious career. I don't know if you're a big fan, but Royal Tenenbaums, Hoosiers, these are movies that are in the like pantheon of film. And he's like one of the most important actors. And now we're just thinking about him dead in a mudroom. It's sad to me.
Okay, on to our next story. The Tate brothers have returned to America. They arrived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And they addressed, well, particularly Andrew, addressed the allegations in Romania of sex trafficking, rape, asserting that they are the victims. Let's listen to him now. Andrew, can you sign a baseball, please?
Listen. We live in a democratic society where it's innocent until proven guilty, and I think my brother and I are largely misunderstood. There's a lot of opinions about us, a lot of things that go around about us on the internet. We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever. We have no criminal record anywhere on the planet ever. Our case was dismissed on the 19th of December in Romania under the Biden administration. And our prosecutor recently decided, because we have no active indictment in court, to let us go and return. This is the democratic society. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, as my brother and I are. And I think it's extremely important that we stop allowing media spin, wrap-up smears, lies, or carefully constructed narratives from George Soros-funded operations trying to destroy the reputations of good people who have no intention to do anything other than follow the law.
Andrew, what about
President?
Wow. He really hasn't missed a beat. Comes out in his tight muscle shirt
with like a turtleneck.
He must have planned that speech on the flight home. Long flight from Romania. I mean, the allegations against these guys in Romania were horrific. They were like the overseas Diddy kind of allegations. You know, there were rape, sex trafficking. They always asserted their innocence, but they have this reputation as being sort of outspoken, for lack of a better word, scumbags. I don't know. They're kind of like, you know, male rights kind of guys, right? And they're icky.
Open misogynist, proud misogynist.
Yes, they believe society should be structured that way with men on top.
I mean, my question is, how much did Trump have to do with getting them home? Because, you know, he wins the election, suddenly these right-wing podcasters who he loves because they helped him win the election, suddenly, you know, he wins and they're home. I think that maybe he had a hand in it.
It's possible, but, you know, they don't have the support of Governor DeSantis, who's the Florida governor who expressed disapproval of their presence. I mean, can you imagine landing in a state and the governor announcing, "We don't want you"?
Yeah.
And it's actually where I'm from, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. These guys fit in Florida. There's a lot of like dudes like that. I've never heard of a case where a governor, when men are not exonerated is too strong, but there were prosecutorial irregularities in Romania that got them released and able to come home. It wasn't really that they were like found innocent or anything like that, but still for a governor to say like, "We don't want you, go elsewhere," is a big, heavy step because it sort of creates like a little bit of a lynch mob mentality. Everyone's going to hate them because the governor is speaking for the people.
I don't think people hate them. Like, given how the election went, I think probably a lot of people share the Tate brothers' worldviews. And I think that the moment Trump comes out and says something positive about these guys is the moment DeSantis will fall back, everyone will fall back, and they'll open their arms.
Do you think Trump fans and Tate fans, that's an overlapping group, but do you think Trump wants to sort of get in bed? There's a lot of high negatives on these guys, and even if they are largely supportive of Trump-type people, Does Trump want to spend his political capital on the Tate brothers and alienate people even more?
Does he have? He doesn't have a finite amount of political capital. He's got.
It's true. It does seem
endless.
inexhaustible.
It does. So I think that he probably likes these guys. I think more people in America probably like these guys than we care to admit.
Yeah.
And I think we will see these guys in the press briefing room.
Yeah.
Sort of like asking, the White House questions. Like they'll be.
I will say, Andrew's kind of gross, but he's well-spoken. He's an articulate guy. Trump might sort of feel an affinity to him.
I think
they
he
share
will.
a lot of ideas. I could see him in the Trump briefing room. You're right. Maybe in that black tight tee and like just firing away questions. It's odd. We live in odd times, Charlie, for someone like this to have as high a profile and potentially be someone who the president supports.
Right. On to our final story of the week. Mary-Kate Cornett. You might not know that name because very few people did a few days ago. But now this internet rumor, which Mary-Kate and her family categorically deny, saying this is cyberbullying. It came out like a post went viral, basically, alleging to be Mary-Kate on Snapchat DMing someone details about her sleeping with her boyfriend's father.
Right.
Now, it's a salacious story, and somehow it got shared and picked up enough on X that it made its way to like TV, and Pat McAfee was on live TV discussing these rumors, not saying they're rumors, basically discussing them almost as if this happened. Antonio Brown is sharing content to do with this, and Mary-Kate, who's given us a statement, and her boyfriend, who also has given a statement, are absolutely shocked and think she's being treated like she wasn't a human being. They have filed a police report claiming she's the victim of cyber stalking, thinking that maybe some no good boys that know her are kind of like trying to mess with her. And this little misinformation lie on X that someone posted caught fire, and that's one of the biggest stories on the internet.
I feel terrible. I'm glad they filed a report to see who was the spark behind this like massive wildfire of controversy, because this is an 18-year-old girl at Ole Miss. This is truly a young person whose life was turned upside down, regardless of the veracity, whether there's any truth to it. I know they've adamantly denied it. It's bizarre to me for the internet to latch onto this, and for high-profile celebrities, Pat McAfee and who'd you say? Antonio Brown. These are guys with huge megaphone platforms to pick on an anonymous person who wasn't seeking celebrity. You and I work in entertainment, or cover entertainment people, and those people are seeking fame. And so coverage of them, to me, seems more fair play. When they get into a little bit of hot water, that's our job. You've sought to play this game. Cornett didn't seek to play this game. She's a freshman at Ole Miss with a boyfriend, and maybe she slept with the dad. Who cares?
Well, I believe her that she didn't. I believe her that she didn't, and just like, because they are
But believing them is irrelevant to it, right?
Yeah.
She's not a famous person, nor did she sort of want this. And for Pat McAfee to get on his show, he's got millions and millions of fans and listeners hanging on his every word, to bring up Mary-Kate Cornett is bizarre to me. Even that we're covering this, I mean, we're covering it in a respectful way, talking about her denial and how this is awful what happened to her. But to take pot shots at her for jokes,
crazy,
is bizarre.
Okay, let's read out some of your comments now.
You agree?
I agree.
Yeah, there's like I don't know.
Grandma Keith says he was 95. His death is not so mysterious, but the death of the wife and the dog are mysterious.
I think we have to trust someone who's grandma age.
Yeah,
I think she's got a perspective on it.
I do agree with Grandma Keith.
Yeah.
Isabel says, don't understand why one dog was locked in the closet and the other two were outside.
Isabel, this has fascinated me as well. So my hunch, and I think more will be discovered, is that they may have had inside-outside dogs. These are big German shepherds, and you can have a dog door where dogs come and go as they please to go to the bathroom and whatnot. And if there were gas, and we don't know that, and it doesn't look like there's indication of it, one of them might have been just lucky enough to have been taking a piss and not gassing while the other one inside. Right. So we don't know, but that is one of the key mysteries. 3 dogs, 1 dead in the closet, 2 healthy.
Tamika says, I remember at least 5 years ago, my aunt and uncle died the same day. They had been together forever, extremely mystical. But he was a great actor in all his movies. Yeah, when people die at the same time.
Oh, Gene was, not her uncle. Gene was the great actor she's talking about, right?
Right. I believe Gene was the great actor.
But if your uncle was also a great actor, we'd like to know. No, I think there was a Notebook quality to this story initially, like 2 people lying in bed in love, but it seems darker than that. It doesn't seem as happy.
No, it doesn't. Bev says, if they drove home and accidentally left the car running and closed the garage door, carbon monoxide will have filled the house. It's a big house.
It's a very big
One
house, and that
car,
matters. And
yeah.
if there's any ventilation, it's hard to imagine that.
Doors
filling
were
up the
open
house.
too. Doors were open.
Well, yes, when they came to the house, the door, they said, was ajar. And maybe windows. We'll have to know. Like, carbon monoxide poisoning, like I said, I brought this up and no one knew this, but Weird Al Yankovic's parents famously died.
So it can't be that famous.
Can't be that famous because if I had to raise it as trivia, but they were in a small home, they lit a fire, and the chimney was not cleaned out properly, and so carbon monoxide poisoning killed them, but I think it was a smaller house and contained space.
Isabel says that no conviction for the Tate brothers doesn't mean they're squeaky clean. Yeah, especially because their case was dismissed because of the lawyers getting something wrong. It's not like they found them innocent. They didn't do it. The case was just dismissed because of paperwork.
I love this. And also, people, even in cases, are not found innocent. That's not the way the legal system works, at least not in America. They're found not guilty.
Right.
That's it. OJ wasn't found innocent. He was found not guilty.
MM says, don't men have all their rights? Yep, men do.
Yeah, I mean, hard to argue with that.
Especially over in Romania, probably. Lisa says, could that bald man's clothes be any tighter? Facts.
I see all his anatomy.
Yeah.
I not only see his nipple, I see the part around the nipple.
Right.
You can see everything.
Areola.
Yeah.
Jordan says, long live the Tate bros. I kind of think
they have fans.
I kind of think they will be more famous than ever now, and they will get on a platform and be like Joe Rogan's, like, on steroids.
They're tailor-made for the podcast world. Look at how he speaks to the press. He's good at it.
And finally, on Mary-Kate Cornett, Justin says, I need to venture out more. The only Mary-Kate I know is Olsen.
I had the same response. Mary-Kate, when it only rolls off the tongue to say Mary-Kate Olsen, I'm like, where's Ashley? When I read a story like that, I'm like, what does Ashley have to say?
Do we know any famous Cornets? Are there any other famous Cornets?
Oh, there's got to be.
You're a trivia guy.
Well, cornet I think of as a small trumpet-like horn.
Okay. Well, that's a fun fact. I didn't know that.
Now you do.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast today.
A lot of fun.
And we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.